Kumaraguru, thank you very much for doing Congeek Conversations today.
Thank you, Charles. Thanks for having me.
Well, perhaps I could start off by asking you about MoneySwipe, which is your startup business. Give me a brief outline of what it is and what it will offer.
Sure. MoneySwipe basically is a remittance application. What we're trying to do is we are trying to help individuals send money back home very cost efficiently. Basically, this is an app to bring the cost of transfer down from 7%, which is right now, to say close to about 1.5% using Bitcoin SV as the power behind that.
And where will the company be based?
It's registered in UK. We want to target the UK-India remittance corridor first,
right? Then
eventually move out to other corridors.
Let's talk about the technology side of it first.
Sure.
How easy or difficult is it going to be? Because as I understand it, the user is not going to be having to buy BSV or anything like that.
They don't have to. The technology will be built around what the regulators want as of now.
Right.
International money transfer the problem of international money transfer was solved when Bitcoin was invented, right?
In theory, anyway.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So what ideally we would have to do is just build a wrapper around Satoshi's Bitcoin, giving them on-ramps and off-ramps.
Yes.
But that's not possible in today's landscape, so we will have to work with the regulator.
And that's not possible for legal reasons.
And because the settlement happens in the Bitcoin token, and any country who receives a lot of remittance, they're going to have a lot of foreign power they miss out on in terms of USD or foreign reserves, which they might not want to lose out on. So say if someone is sending money into India, it gets their foreign reserves up if they get more USD. So they might not want to settle on BSV if they're losing out on that hard power.
Let's just take it from the user's perspective.
Yes.
With your app.
Yes.
If I want to send some money to India, what exactly would I be doing with the app?
So you would get on our app, you would give us British pounds, then we would...
How would I get the pounds onto the app?
So we'll have to use the normal payment aggregator there, your local payment aggregator. That is one of your aggregators. I don't know the aggregators in UK right now, but bank transfer.
Yes.
So they pay via credit card or debit card, or they do a direct bank transfer.
Yes.
Then we receive the money. Then we would ideally credit it to the payee, given to us, of course, by the user. At the back-end system, what we could do is we could just use a stable coin, create a closed loop system wherein we balance our accounts between the two entities, that is UK and India. That's one way of doing it. There are a couple of other ways of doing it depending upon how we engage with the regulators.
But if you use a stable coin, is that instead of Bitcoin SV?
On top of Bitcoin SV.
On top of Bitcoin SV.
Let me explain that a little further, yeah. So using blockchain, we have efficiency gains to be made both on the front end and back end. So if you are actually doing the transfer of value, all you need to do is transfer Bitcoin from point A to point B, and the transfer of value happens. Then we just exchange the currency on both ends. Quickly. So that's problem solved.
Yes.
But regulators might not want that. So what we do is we kind of become a SaaS player, so to say. We build the messaging system on Bitcoin SV. We build the compliance system on Bitcoin SV. And we believe there is efficiency gains to be had just by using BSV as a data ledger. And for a closed loop system, or if you want to integrate the regulator as part of the system, we can do that as well.
But how does the stable coin come into it then?
It's what we could do is we can use stablecoin as a bridge asset. So you agree, it's a ledger system, right?
But if I buy BSV, or if you buy BSV with my £100, and then immediately at the other end it gets sold for a different currency, what else do you need than that?
Say you're in England, you want to send money to India. So what happens is I have an entity in UK and I have an entity in India. So the entity in UK receives your British pounds. The entity in India deposits Indian rupee to the receiver's account. And it's a balance of account between point A and point B. And we use the stablecoin system to keep the accounts. In terms of, okay, we had today $1,000 sent from Britain to India, and India we had about 1,000 pounds sent to UK. So the accounts are balanced. We could do that. Or if when the account is imbalanced, we go to the a repeat drawing account to settle.
And is the stable coin to do with the volatility of BSV?
Yes, it's got to do with volatility of BSV, and it's also got to do with going to an exchange and with the liquidity as well. Because right now there's not much liquidity available both on UK side and on Indian side.
Right. So if somebody comes along with £1 million, you would suddenly have to acquire £1 million worth of BSV, and that might not be straightforward.
Yep.
Whereas with a stable coin, you could do that.
Yes,
I
that's right.
see. Yeah.
With stablecoin, what happens is you can integrate it with a third party as well. So point A and point B, both MoneySwipe is point A and point B is also MoneySwipe. If I want to add a third partner, so we agree that this is a stable coin, so by which I can bring in a third partner if need be.
Right.
But if we are directly exchanging BSV, then there's this volatility factor which comes into play.
Yeah.
So too much complexity there.
Right. So the financial side of it is quite complicated.
Yes, it is.
But then what about also you have to deal with the regulatory side?
Yes.
And how do you approach that?
So we are going to design the system based on what the regulator wants.
So how do you sort of have a meeting with the Indian regulator?
Yes. So what's happening right now is there is a regulatory sandbox which the Reserve Bank of India has opened up. They want to see use cases of how blockchain can bring efficiency to remittance industry. This cohort was open in 2018 and it was shut within a year. Then now they have reopened it up.
Oh, right.
During the first cohort, they selected 2 companies. One was using Hyperledger and another blockchain. Now they've reopened it up and they're going to keep it open for a while. They're wanting companies to show them the efficiency gains using blockchain.
And so this is a great opportunity for you.
Yes,
then.
exactly. So what we want to do is we want to be part of this cohort. We want to build the product out and show to them what efficiency gains.
And then if they like what they see and if the experiment goes well,
we get a license.
But what I was thinking is, does that mean you get a license, but somebody in competition with you doesn't get a license? Or does it just mean people doing something like MoneySwipe are doing, that's okay, anyone can do that now?
Right now, how the regulatory sandbox is built is you get a 6-month time period of not getting caught into any...
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once that period is done, then you get the proper license and you comply with all the licenses, all the rules and regulations.
So you get first mover advantage anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're inviting companies and they're giving them this first mover advantage so that companies can innovate.
And that's the incentive for people to invest in these experiments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want a working product. They already want you to have a partnership with banks right. When you ideally enter into the cohort.
But how can you have a working product if it's not allowed yet?
That's why they want you to be part of the cohort to test it out.
Oh, I see, right.
Yeah.
But so how stiff will the competition be to be accepted on this sandbox experiment?
There's been 2 companies which is already already won the competition, so to say.
From the earlier time?
Right now, I wouldn't know how many people are there, but BSV, as we know, scales and it solves a lot. I don't see any other company using BSV and being part of this sandbox as of now. So that's where we see our first mover advantage.
So really you are just sort of waiting to find out how many competitors there will be to get this?
No, I'm not waiting to find out how many competitors. I'm waiting to find out how much of an efficiency gain that we can show.
I see.
Right. That's the competition is how much we can give back, right?
Yeah.
So if we have literally a lot more efficiency to gain than Hyperledger, which I believe we have with BSV, then we've already won the competition.
And does the government, is it the government wanting this to allow people to receive remittances very efficiently, or does that cut down the amount of tax they're going to be able to get from this kind of business?
So let's say like a country like India, receives 84 billion US dollars a year for remittance. And imagine each one of them are paying 7% as transaction fee to get that money here.
And then there'll be a tax on that transaction fee?
No, remittance are not taxed.
Oh, okay.
So if they can bring the efficiency from 7% to 3%, that's a gain to the Indian government in terms of people receive more money back home.
It's a gain to the Indian people, really.
And the government.
Well, because
of the foreign reserves improve.
Oh, right, I see.
Yeah, it's a win-win. And it's a stated goal of the United Nations sustainability goal, right? To bring remittance down from 7% to 3% by 2030.
But if pounds or dollars are being sent to India through MoneySwipe, but the bridge is a stable coin,
yes,
does that really mean that it is adding to India's foreign exchange reserve?
Yes, yes.
It does?
Yes.
How?
Because we are still drawing rupees. So we will at the back end settle on whatever currencies agreed upon, right? So we will still settle with the bank. So that's where I said, depending upon, we are not using BSV as a direct transfer of value because of what it's, you can't do that right now because of the jurisdiction.
Right.
So we are using BSV blockchain as a messaging system.
Just to transport it.
Exactly. To settle our accounts.
And then I still haven't quite got my head around this. How does the bank in India get my £100 if
because
basically you've already spent it in buying the stable coin?
We are not using the pound to buy the stable coin. The stable coin is part of a closed loop system where we agree between party A and point B. The stable coin is created there and sent to us. So there's no buying of stablecoin there. It's just our ledger system.
Oh, okay.
So that £100 that you give us will actually go to the bank with our system of how we settle with the banks using our own formulas in terms of foreign exchange.
Well, okay. So that's great. It sounds like the best of both worlds, really.
Yes, we ideally want to use BSV as the transfer of value, but we say that it's going to take some time for the regulators to understand the peer-to-peer aspect. And
you think that'll be quite a hard sell to?
It's not about quite a hard sell. It's about being there and doing it now. Our belief is just using BSV as a data ledger, there's efficiency gains to be made.
Yes.
So we first show the regulator that BSV is better than Hyperledger. Then we show them, okay, transfer of value can also happen. That's going to take some time. That's going to take some time.
Well, for MoneySwipe to be generally useful around the world, you're going to have these complicated battles in every single country. Or is it indeed with every combination of countries?
With combination of countries, with different sectors, corridors, we call it in the remittance industry.
Yes, right.
Say maybe the UK and Australian corridor are fine with the actual transfer of value happening on Bitcoin. Then it's easy peasy there. When it comes to India or even countries like GCC, they might actually want settlement in their native currencies. So it will have to be designed as per the regulators.
So does that mean that MoneySwipe is a potentially very profitable business, but that one that's going to require quite a big investment in terms of people and time to complete all these complex negotiations between many different parties all around the world?
We don't have these middlemen. So that's what we are trying to remove from the remittance industry, right?
No, but what I mean is, in order to have it accepted by different governments that MoneySwipe is allowed to operate between this country and this country, you're going to have to talk to all these different regulators and straighten it out in order to open for business.
That's right.
And that's going to require a lot of people time by you or your colleagues, presumably.
True. So we are looking at it from this point of view. India is now open. They have the regulatory sandbox. We build the product, show to the RBI, get the license, we operate in India. Then, say South Africa has a regulatory sandbox. We tell them we're already part of this sandbox, we can replicate that there. We want to work with the regulator who's open right now, with their policies right now, rather than us telling them this is how things have to be done. So we are looking at countries who are open right now with sandboxes.
Right. So and the more experience you can show, then the easier it'll become, presumably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm wondering whether the app will also be useful for transferring money between people within a country, because that's a huge business, obviously.
Yeah. So for a country like India, we have a native app called UPI, which has a free transfer of money. So the domestic payment is seamless already.
Oh, right.
We still believe BSV can make a difference there as well with micropayments. But right now we are focused only on cross-border payments. And with this particular vertical of remittance, solving this first. Then eventually we would want to become a global payment solution.
Right.
Right now our focus is on individuals from UK wanting to send money to India, how we can bring the cost down for them with better currency conversion rates.
Right. There's a lot of talk in the world of Bitcoin SV about, and other cryptocurrencies perhaps, although we don't call Bitcoin SV a cryptocurrency, about banking the unbanked. Perhaps that doesn't really apply to what you're doing, because banks are involved and the people need a bank account to be on the receiving end. Is that right?
That's right. So we call it the last mile delivery. With the stablecoin system that I talked about, we can recruit agents as a person who is part of our stablecoin system. When they get our stablecoin, they recognize that as actual money, and they give the money and they come and give us the stablecoin and we settle with them. There's a last mile system we can enable with a closed loop system using stablecoins. That's why when I said party A and party B accepts a stablecoin, we can bring in third-party agents so that we can bridge the last mile gap of people who are being part of our system. So say like we call it the Kirana stores, the corner shops. If they are part of the system, as soon as they receive the stablecoin, they know it's good for money. So they hand over the direct cash to the person next to them, and they settle. They give us the stablecoin, and we give them back the money they've given.
So it does enable people who haven't got a bank account to become part of the system.
That's right. That's why we need the stablecoin as a closed loop system. They'll be part of a closed loop system to enable the last mile delivery.
If I want to send money to somebody in India who hasn't got a bank account, what's the security mechanism that would make sure that the person in the supermarket or the corner store who's got the money is giving it to the right person? What would that person have to show to prove that it was for them?
No, we will follow what's already a rule right now. Western Union is doing this. We're not going to come up with new rules.
Yes.
If they have to give their national identity card to prove their identity, we will do that. We are not inventing new systems. We are just building on top of existing rules and regulations.
Well, India's a good place for that then, because of the very organized
volume of transaction.
Well, also because of the identity card system I was thinking of.
Exactly. And we can do UPI payments. UPI is very similar to our PayMail system that we have within blockchain. It's like an email system. So maybe we can integrate PayMail and UPI. So the last mile delivery happens via bank transfer, mobile transfer to the UPI account.
I mean, if all this goes well, how quickly will you be able to build the business, do you think?
The business can be built right now. So the point is about getting the regulatory approval. So we can build the business right now. It's to how we get into the sandbox is the question.
Once you get into that sandbox, you can start straight away. But you have to design the app and everything. But
yes. The app is, as I said, we're going to build wrappers around Satoshi's Bitcoin. So that's the easy bit.
Right. Well, it sounds amazing, and I wish you every luck with it, because it sounds like a fantastic project. And
thank you.
Thank you so much for talking to me today, Kumaraguru.
Thank you, Shats.
Thanks.